Hello and welcome to another game with cards from the new expansion, Plunder. Our first card in this kingdom is Pilgrim. Plus 4 cards. Put a card from your hand onto your deck and it costs 5. Doesn't use any of the themes from the new expansion, but this card may look familiar to you because it closely resembles Courtyard. Courtyard is plus 3 cards, put 1 back, and it costs 2. Courtyard has grown up into a Pilgrim, apparently. Here's the second card on the kingdom. We saw this earlier, Grotto. Set aside up to 4 cards from your hand face down, and then at the start of your next turn, discard them, draw that many. Bit of cycling offered from Grotto. With respect to the rest of the kingdom, we have Peasant, and there is a natural target for the Peasant, for the teacher tokens on the Lost City. You could also consider the Pilgrim, plus action on the Pilgrim will give you quite a bit of draw. But probably you want to target the Lost Cities. There's some trashing in Develop on Lookout, and Artisan is very helpful in this game, being able to gain Lost Cities, Pilgrims, Tormentors, Duchies. All of those are cards you would consider at some point. Both open with a Peasant. I open with the Lookout and the Peasant. And because of the favor and the Order of Masons, I'm able to discard a couple estates, make it a bit more likely that the Peasant shows up on top. The Lookout shows up on top instead, which is okay. Not really. The Peasant will miss the shuffle if I play the Lookout. Lookout for AJL as well. They do have better luck with turn 3 though. On my turn 3, I play the Lookout. I think trashing is better than not trashing, even if the Peasant will miss the shuffle. I considered a second Lookout here. One Lookout will trash too slowly. I thought I would need 2 of them to trash as fast as I would want. However, I decided to buy a Grotto instead. A couple reasons for the Grotto. One is I'm hoping to hit 5 with the Grotto. If on a turn I'm able to save 3 or more cards, I could probably hit 5 on that turn, combined with the Peasant or the Soldier, whatever would be in the deck at the time. That might get me up to 5 for Lost City or even 6 for an Artisan. The second reason is that the Grotto does have long-term use. While I will not be trashing as much with the Lookout, a pair of Grottos can help keep the cards that the second Lookout would have trashed out of the deck anyway. We take the Grotto instead, plus it's a new card. The first time I used the Grotto, I was confused about how it worked. Now I understand it properly, so I want to give it a fair go. We get to 5 here without the Grotto, because this is how you play Dominion. Just hit 5 head. AGL gets a Grotto and a second Peasant. We take the Lost City here, of course. I think the Lost City is better than the Pilgrim in this position because we have the Terminal. It draws, and it's not. The Pilgrim, you could put that card back if you draw into it, but the Lost City is just safer in general. Plus, we want Artisan, so you need the Terminal space for that. Lookout trashes an estate for AGL. We didn't get to trash an estate, unfortunately, on our Lookout play. I think this one will connect with an estate, though. Up to 4, they opt for a silver. Makes sense. We want the Artisan. Silver will help you get there. I set aside just 1 card on the Grotto here. Earlier, I spoke about setting aside 3 or more. In this situation, I do not want my Soldier to miss the shuffle. If I set aside more than 1 card, the Soldier would miss the shuffle. So I set just one aside, and I am able to buy another peasant as well. Drop the lost city here because we don't want to trigger the shuffle again, and we hit 6. Grotto did help with that, but also this is lucky. To hit 6, we pick up the artisan very quickly, upgrade to fugitive as well. Another trash for AJL, and they get to their artisan because of the silver they bought. Very good for them. We gain a lost city and buy a second grotto. At this point, I hope to have one grotto in play every turn. That'll help with the cycling. It'll help with keeping junk cards out of the deck. I feel very good about my position right now. I was lucky and was able to get a lost city before my opponent, an artisan before my opponent. They do have a lead in the peasant line. We'll see how impactful that is. Here's their fugitive. We have to go looking for our fugitive here. Them gaining a lost city helps. Second grotto for them as well. Look out first to find the fugitive. We have to trigger the shuffle here, and I think it's okay to trigger the shuffle because it's very small. In fact, in this position, I can gain a Pilgrim here instead of a lost city just to draw a little deeper into the deck. We top deck our Grotto. Set aside some number of cards here with the Grotto. I thought about getting another artisan here. Instead of getting the artisan, I chose to set aside more cards. I think setting aside more cards is more important than the second artisan, especially with a disciple coming. And on 4, I am able to pick up a couple of peasants. I want disciples. Those are strong cards. Obviously, you want disciples. Now, this is a bad hand, but the Grotto will draw us into 4 new cards. Maybe we'll find a lost city there. In the meantime, AJL sets aside and upgrades their peasant. We found a lost city. Thank you, Grotto. Lost city finds us disciple into artisan, and this is going to be a massive turn for me. I gain a couple lost cities and an artisan. I find back the artisan, so I gain yet another lost city. I think that is 3 lost cities and 2 artisans gained in one turn. Forgot to play the Grotto here. Again, we will try to go for setting aside as many cards as possible here. I choose to set aside 3 instead of 4 because I was thinking about Lost City and Peasant, or maybe Lost City and Sycophant. At this point, I do go for the Sycophant because I want the favors to help increase my chances of seeing a lost city in my opening hand. The Grotto helps, yes. The Order of Masons can provide further assistance as well. I am trashing slowly with the Lookout, so I need to keep the consistency up in other ways. I didn't mention this before, but the Pilgrim works well with the Lookout. I can top deck a card that I want to trash, then play the Lookout to guarantee that I trash a copper or an estate. Very helpful ability from the Pilgrim here. Now I gave AJL quite a few cards on that turn, so they will be able to have a big turn. You'll notice also on my turn I had the option to upgrade the Disciple into a Teacher. I chose not to. I'm not sure if that is right or not. I chose not to because I was anticipating another big turn for myself where I would be able to gain multiple lost cities and artisans potentially. However, because I gave AJL so many cards, they are able to gain the remaining lost cities and a second artisan. So it's not so clear now what you would like to gain with the artisans. But we'll figure it out. We'll see what is the best use of our disciple. Now, The Lost City split went in our favor. We got 6 of them thanks to that massive turn powered by Grotto. Feels like I'm advertising for a company called Grotto. 4th Lost City for AJL. And we'll see where they choose to take it from here. They have less resources than I do, less actions critically, but that isn't the end of the world. They have a disciple and they have another one coming up soon. They put down, yeah, peasant, soldier. The other disciples are coming soon. So we'll see where they go from here. The disciples can be played on Lost Cities to make up the actions that they're lacking. Up to 9 now. And I am curious to see where they opt to take the game or what their strategy is from this point after the Lost Cities have been depleted. They opt for a 3rd artisan and another peasant. Not entirely sure what they want to do with that, but we'll find out soon enough. I choose to play the disciple on a Pilgrim, so I'll gain another copy of that. I think that is the next best thing to gain. I don't want too many artisans now because I'm not sure what to gain with them now that the Lost Cities are done. I am actually able to use the Sycophant's ability for coin here because I have so much draw. That is great news for me. I use one artisan here on a peasant for the plus buy. Then I use another artisan for a tormentor just because I have the actions to play one. It might disrupt them a little bit. I don't expect it to win the game for me, but it may make things uncomfortable for my opponent. We do trash our silver into our copper, so we reduce their economy a little bit. I don't know how helpful that is. Finally, we are able to play all of our travelers. Couple soldiers gets us up to 16 and 2 buys. And because I'm not really sure how else to build from here, I decide to go for 2 provinces. Maybe I could have put the seaway on a sycophant or a peasant or something and bought 1 province. I decided to go for the end of the game. Now I do convert both soldiers into not disciples, to fugitives here. This will significantly reduce the amount of money I have next turn, but I feel very comfortable with my position. I even exchange for a teacher at this junction because I don't think they're really impactful targets for the disciple anymore. Plus the deck size is increasing with all these stop cards. I'd like to put my plus card token down on the Lost Cities. Maybe I should have exchanged for a teacher 1 turn earlier. That decision is never easy for me to make, and I always feel like I make the wrong one. I mean, when do you upgrade disciple into teacher and when do you not? AJL does see all of their lost cities here, and they start making some plays with the artisans that had me a little concerned. They start gaining duchies with the artisan, and I thought maybe they have some plan to pile out on me, even disciple on artisan to gain a couple duchies, and they now have a 4th artisan. So they have tremendous duchy gaining potential here. That made me feel a bit concerned. Artisans are low and there are disciples floating around. They have 1, they'll get another one next turn. So maybe there is some threat of a pile out. I wasn't entirely sure. Setting aside on the Grotto gets them up to just 2 though. They did gain 3 duchies, but they didn't have money to do much else. Only able to buy a sycophant, I assume, for the favors. and they pass it back to me. And here is where I demonstrate a weakness that I had for this whole season of League, the end game. I am in a good position here. How do I extend my advantage at this point? It wasn't clear to me what I should do to extend my advantage. Should I cut them off on the duchies? Should I continue with provinces? Should I try to add more payload to the deck in the form of gold or tormentor? Because I would have a couple of disciples on my next turn, so I'll have lots of actions. The token will come into play. Maybe I could put plus coin down on something, plus buy on something. So many options, and I got a bit flustered. I decided to just stick with what I had started with in the beginning, which is to go after the provinces. I can only get one province here because I exchanged off all those soldiers. I upgraded them into fugitives. Arguably, I should have kept the soldiers as well. I do use my artisans to gain some number of duchies here. That allows me to top deck a Pilgrim in the event that I do not see any lost cities. At least I can put plus action on Pilgrim and still probably have a turn. Grotto sets 4 aside, and we buy a province. I think we have a healthy points lead, but at this point, even I was not convinced that AJL could not pile out on me. Keep the peasant there for the plus buy, because we don't have any other source of plus buy in the deck. However, AJL seems to have a terrible turn and they resign. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.